The storm didn't ask permission before it arrived. One minute the lake lay flat and glassy, reflecting a peach-colored sky. The next, the wind screamed, the surface turned black, and the yacht listed so sharply that champagne flutes slid off tables and shattered like ice. Emma Thompson, 29, art teacher from a sleepy town south of Santa Barbara, had come on this corporate sunset cruise because her best friend had won tickets and then gotten the flu. "Go live a little," her friend had said. So Emma put on the only fancy dress she owned, soft blush pink chiffon with tiny ruffles that fluttered around her shoulders like nervous butterflies, and boarded alone. She was regretting every decision when the first monster wave hit. She lurched along the deck, heels skidding, until her palms slammed against the cold steel railing. Rain stung her cheeks. Her hair whipped across her eyes. Around her, strangers clutched strangers, shouting over the roar. And that was when she saw the woman who looked like she'd been painted into the storm itself. She stood perfectly still near the bow, one hand lightly touching the rail, the other holding back dark hair that refused to obey. Her dress was the color of early morning tide, pale blue, sleeveless, wrapped gently across her chest. While everyone else looked ready to cry or pray, she tilted her face into the wind as though greeting it. Emma didn't think. She just moved. Another wave rocked the boat. She staggered the last few steps and grabbed the same railing, inches from the stranger. "Are we dying?" she yelled, half laughing, half serious. The woman turned. Her eyes were the exact color the lake had been 10 minutes earlier, clear, bright, fearless. "Not today," she shouted back, and smiled like someone who had already made peace with chaos. "I'm Emma," Emma said, because it suddenly felt urgent to be known. "Rachel," the woman answered, and extended her hand, not for a polite shake, but to anchor them both as the deck tilted again. Their fingers locked. The storm kept raging, but the space between their palms felt strangely quiet. The captain's voice crackled over the intercom. They were making for the nearest cove, 2 miles north. Until then, everyone was advised to go below. Most guests scrambled for the stairs. Emma and Rachel stayed exactly where they were, soaked to the skin, laughing at nothing and everything. When the rain finally eased to a drizzle, they slipped inside a small salon no one else had claimed. Someone had abandoned an open bottle of Cabernet on the counter. Rachel poured 2 plastic cups with a solemn ceremony of someone serving communion. They sat on the cushioned bench beneath the windows, knees almost touching, watching lightning flicker over the water like faulty stage lights. Emma spoke first. "I teach 3rd grade. I spend my days covered in glitter and tempera paint, and tonight, I thought I was going to die in a dress I bought on sale because it made me feel pretty for once." Rachel laughed, low, warm, a sound that made the cabin feel bigger. "I design clothes for people who get paid to be pretty. Most days I feel like a fraud. Tonight, I just wanted to stand in the rain and remember I'm alive." They talked until their voices grew hoarse. Emma told her about growing up in a house where love was loud but acceptance was quiet, about the girlfriend who said, "I love you," only when no one was listening, and left when someone finally did. Rachel spoke of Manhattan apartments that cost more than most people's yearly salaries, of walking out on a fiancé the night he proposed because she realized she'd been performing heterosexuality for so long she'd forgotten how to breathe. They traded stories like secrets, each confession making the air between them warmer, heavier, sweeter. When they stepped back onto the deck, the sky had turned the color of a healing bruise. The other guests had long since disembarked at the emergency dock. Only a skeleton crew remained, pretending not to notice the 2 women who clearly weren't ready to leave each other. Emma and Rachel walked to the very front of the yacht and sat on the wide cushioned bench at the bow. The boat rocked gently now, a cradle. They let their shoes fall to the deck and dangled bare feet over the edge. The moon rose full and shameless, laying a silver road across the water. Silence stretched, comfortable yet electric. Rachel spoke first, voice barely above the lapping water. "I keep thinking about how fast everything can change. 10 minutes ago, I was alone. Now, I don't want to be." Emma turned. Their faces were close enough that she could see flecks of gold in Rachel's irises, could smell rain on her skin. Me neither. They didn't plan the kiss. There was no cinematic swell of music, no slow-motion lean. It simply happened. Foreheads resting together first, a shared breath, then lips meeting soft and wondering and certain all at once. It tasted like lake water and Cabernet, and the salt of tears neither of them had realized they were shedding. When they parted, they stayed close, noses brushing, smiling like people who had just been handed an unexpected future. They exchanged numbers on fogged-up phone screens, fingers clumsy with cold and hope. The crew finally insisted they had to dock for the night. Rachel's rental car was waiting. Emma's rideshare was 20 minutes out. They stood at the gangway, unwilling to be the first to step off. "I'm in New York," Rachel said, as if distance were a living thing she could negotiate with. "I'm in California," Emma answered. "But I have a million frequent flyer miles and an extremely understanding principal." Rachel laughed again, and the sound lodged somewhere behind Emma's ribs like a second heartbeat. The first months were a fever of red-eye flights and time zone math. Rachel would land in LAX at dawn, hair in a messy knot, carrying coffee and sketches she wanted Emma to see first. Emma would appear at LaGuardia wrapped in scarves, clutching children's books she thought Rachel needed to read because the illustrations made her cry. They learned each other in fragments, the way Rachel took her coffee black but dessert sweet enough to hurt, how Emma hummed when she graded papers and danced in grocery aisles when no one was looking. There were fights, of course. Fashion Week swallowed Rachel for 18 days. Emma's mother asked, for the 100th time, when she was going to settle down with a nice man. Once, Rachel didn't call for 48 hours and Emma spiraled into every old fear. They shouted over the phone, then cried, then booked the next possible flights. They always showed up. That became the rule. Show up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. A year and 3 months after the storm, they rented the same yacht, same company, same lake, same captain who grinned like a proud uncle when he recognized them. They asked him to drop anchor in the exact spot where lightning had once tried to write their ending. They wore the same dresses, now carefully preserved, pink and pale blue soft against sun-warmed skin. The sky was clear, the water gentle. They sat on the bow bench, legs dangling, foreheads touching the way they had that first night. Rachel traced the faint scar on Emma's wrist, an old burn from a kindergarten glue gun accident, and whispered, "Marry me. Not today, not with rings or paperwork. Just choose me. Every day. On purpose." Emma's answer was a kiss that tasted like forever. Years later, when people asked how they knew it was real, Emma would smile and say, "Because the first time the world tried to tear us apart, we held on so tightly our hands left marks." Rachel would add, softer, "And because every storm since has only pushed us closer." Their love became the quiet kind of legend, two women who met on a tilting deck, who turned terror into trust with nothing more than intertwined fingers and one perfect kiss under a furious sky. A love that began with chaos and learned, slowly, beautifully, how to sail.